Hey everyone, and welcome to Comic Breakdown. If you're new to the page, be sure to give us a like and a sub so you don't miss any of the content we have coming out. And today we're going to be diving into Rise of the Black Panther. And I thought this would be a good issue to cover today to pay tribute to Chadwick Boseman. Now, Chadwick Boseman is the one who portrayed Black Panther in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's really unfortunate. He died at a young age. He died at 43 due to colon cancer. You know, it's a battle that he relatively kept quiet for the most part, even through his fame and things of that nature. It's just a really saddened day, and the MCU really lost an extremely talented actor that brought so much to the character that is Black Panther. So my way of paying tribute is covering Rise of the Black Panther, the character he so awesomely portrayed and opened up to an entire generation of comic book readers. So without further ado, let's dive into this issue. So the Rise of Black Panther, it doesn't start us with T'Challa. It starts us with the exploits of his father, T'Chaka. And it's an account of things that he experienced as his reign as king and Black Panther. And so the opening pages bring us to King T'Chaka and Captain America. And Captain America, along with some other soldiers, essentially came to Wakanda. They breached the border walls, and the Wakandans defended. Now, Captain America was trying to talk to them, because at this time, the Great War is happening, World War II. And the Nazis, as well as Hydra, are trying to conquer the known world. And that the resource vibranium could help them change the course of the war. Now, Black Panther doesn't know them. The king has no clue who they are, and so he doesn't want to just let anybody in. You know, their rule is to keep everybody out. But as they are having their little conflict, we see the arrival of Hydra. And Hydra just starts trying to kill everybody. And this is where Captain America and Black Panther team up for the very first time. And Captain America ends up staying in Wakanda for a series of time. And he grows to appreciate Wakanda in a way that very few ever have. And so him and the king entrusting each other, the Wakandan king gave Captain America a good amount of vibranium. And Captain America gave his shield. And this is all covered in Captain America, Black Panther, Flags of Our Fathers. And though the Wakandan king never saw Captain America again, the shield was used as a instrument to be able to help the Allies win World War II. And so Captain America did hold up his end of the bargain, even if the council disagreed with him giving vibranium to an outsider. And they fear that with this, others are going to now try to come and steal what resource they have. And so we follow King T'Chaka to a woman he loves. And this will be T'Challa's mother. And he wants her to be queen. He wants her to marry him. And she worries that the world her son may have to grow up in, you know, though the clans are united now, they still have the ceremonial yearly fight for the Black Panther and things of that nature. And so it's worrisome for her. You know, it's a almost dangerous world for her child to grow up in, and the weight of that responsibility. And so he convinces her to come back to Wakanda, to the castle. And though she gets smirks and things of that nature from the help and others among the palace, she really puts her nose to the grindstone when it comes to helping secure Wakanda and make a better future for her family and those she loves. And so the two were married. And not long after they were married, after much worry that she may not be able to conceive a child, they find out that she is pregnant. And as foreseen, they were attacked yet again. Hydra continued to pursue the Wakandans and their vibranium. And this time they were able to get a tank in of sorts that was able to disrupt a lot of the Wakanda machinery that also disrupted all weaponry and things of that nature. So they were vulnerable to attacks now. But the Wakandans showed their might and their understanding of how to use vibranium and weaponize it to a point where even people like Hydra really have no chance against them. And we see Black Panther just take out this tank with ease. Now, preceding the battle, T'Chaka finds out that his wife has fallen ill. Some type of autoimmune disease that she had gotten while in the real world. And so the Wakandan king calls the one person that they think would be able to help him. And that person is Howard Stark, Tony Stark's father. And they agree in exchange for a pound of vibranium that he would send a type of cure that could possibly cure her autoimmune disease. But upon transportation of this life-saving serum, traders to Wakanda ambushed them and ended up exploding the craft that was taking the medicine to her. And so she gives birth, and a week after she gives birth, they hold a funeral for her. And through the years, the Wakandan king struggled with the loss of his beloved, but the one thing that gave him joy was watching his son grow. And while out on patrol as his son began to grow, they brought him along with him for his first trials, and he got lost in the woods. And he was found by a woman named Ramonda, who had fled Africa in seek of help because of how horrible the world had turned and how much poverty their people were in. And as she began to stay at Wakanda, she fell in love with both T'Challa and T'Chaka. And this is when T'Chaka took his second wife. And so years have passed at this point, and Wakanda still continuously gets attacks. And some of these are definitely notable names, like Ulysses S. Claw. And everybody just keeps coming for their vibranium. Now, Ulysses S. Claw was given weapons by, or at least intel by, Hydra. And during the attack, young T'Challa goes to help his father, but unknowingly gets in the way of Crossfire, and T'Chaka jumps in the way of the bullet, or the ray, essentially. And this is where we see T'Challa take the gun and fire at the man taking off his arm as these men retreat. But at this point, the battle had been done, as the White Wolf and T'Challa stand over the Wakanda king's dead body. Now at this point, T'Challa has grown, and he's become the Wakandan king. He also hails as Black Panther, and even to this day, people still try to steal vibranium and take it out of the country. And we see him stopping two would-be thieves trying to steal the vibranium and take it out through the river. Now, he had only been Black Panther for a couple of weeks, and this is where it takes us a couple weeks ago, where we see a T'Challa, but he's masked, covering his identity and seemingly defeating anybody in the yearly ritual for ruler. And we see him defeat his uncle, who is currently the reigning Black Panther and ruler after his brother had died. And so T'Challa, he really gets a notion that he needs to open up the world, Wakanda, to the world. Like, change moves all around them. Forces of nature appear and suddenly in the sky, and others claim to be humankind's evolutionary replacement. So we're talking about, mutants here. We're talking about Galactus, Thor. We have literal gods. The world outside is changing. If we don't help the world around us, there will be nothing left of the world around us, and we could demise along with that. And his uncle thinks this is a horrible idea. Like, do not open up Wakanda to the outside world. If they knew the kind of superiority we had, they wouldn't let it stand. And T'Challa really, he proposes, what would happen if Wakanda, what would Wakanda have done if Professor Richards and his team fell before the World Devourer? If it weren't for these heroes out here, the Avengers and people like that, protecting the world very well could be non-existent anymore, and Wakanda along with it. Now, the traders that he captured that were trying to steal vibranium, they mentioned disappearances, and it prompted him to review old security files. And these files revealed a handful of individuals that have gone missing or disappeared over the years. And so Black Panther wants to investigate this. And as he investigates further, his uncle and the White Wolf had both been investigating this, but had really come to no conclusion onto where these people were missing and going to. And so later that day, our Wakandan king announces to his nation that he is going to be revealing Wakanda to the world and inviting the United Nations in, at least representatives from nations, 5 different nations, to look at what Wakanda is. And after that, he heads out to be able to track down these missing people. And so everything in his investigation so far has brought him to the water. It has brought him to one of the rivers. And it brings him to the border of Naganda. Now, Naganda is their neighboring nation. And they've kind of always been, not necessarily hostile, but at arms with these individuals. And upon coming across this, he sees a downed ship, and so Black Panther stops and he asks this man if he needs assistance. And the man goes to attack him. And we find out this man is Namor. Now, he's the leader, or the king of Atlantis. And he believes Black Panther is the one that shot him down, and that's why these two are going at it right now. And so to stop this fight, Black Panther gives him an option. He's absorbed all the energy of his attacks into his gloves, and he puts it on the ship. He's like, I know there's people you care about in here. I can either blow these or I can dissipate the energy. It's your choice. And so they stop fighting long enough to talk to each other. And they're both searching for missing individuals from their respective homelands. And so they go to find out where this is all coming from. And so these two kings travel to this house. And they break in and come to find out the neighboring country as well as one of the Atlanteans were conspiring together to be able to take down both of these nations. Now, after they dismember all these guys and take them out and rescue the people, there are files left over about the Atlanteans. And so he uploads all of these files because the Atlanteans may have been his friends today, but they may not be tomorrow. And so we pick up to our national speech that's going out to not just national, but a global speech by our Wakandan king. And he's announcing to the world that they exist. And we see people from all over, like Nick Fury, the Atlantean King, Doctor Doom, all watching this broadcast and taking interest in what's happening. As well as one of the disappearing individuals from Wakanda who now thinks he can go home. And a week ago, our Wakanda King sent out invitations all over to different people, letting them know that they can come to Wakanda and see what Wakanda has to help with and has to offer. And this is much to the distaste of the Wakandan Council. They're not happy about this at all. But T'Challa's really not giving them a choice. He's like, oh, well, you know, I'm sorry you guys disagree with me, but they're already here. And that's when we see them enter the room. And he starts showing them around Wakanda and showing them all the things that vibranium can do and that they've done with it and how they've advanced it into modern science. And this is where they see Captain America's shield on the wall, and they ask, like, if Captain America has been here, why don't S.H.I.E.L.D. and us know about it? And so it's just a lot of, like, they can't believe we didn't know about this place. Even people like Captain America knew about it, but didn't tell us. And it was important to uphold the secrecy of the world, from the world. Now, T'Challa's talking to his sister Shuri, and there's some kind of disturbance, and it brings Black Panther to the rooftop. And this is where he's met with a phantom soldier that seems to have teleported in, and it's the Winter Soldier. And as these two battle, Shuri's trying to get information on him, but there's really nothing in the database. And so this is where our Wakanda King gets the idea to use a prototype of his. It's an energy grenade that counter frequencies teleportation. So that way they can't be able to teleport in or out anymore based on that frequency, and they would have to change things up drastically. And teleportation as itself is an extremely hard science. And so these two battle, and they end up breaking through the ceiling and landing into the council room. And he wraps the Winter Soldier up in vibranium restraints of sorts, and it's able to restrain him. And this is where we see Black Panther use a theory, and he stabs the Winter Soldier with a vibranium modified dagger, and it disrupts the brainwashing done to the Winter Soldier. And he sees Cap's shield on the wall, and he says, I know that shield, and then passes out. And T'Challa knew this was going to happen. Like, he knew something like this was going to happen. They were going to try some kind of craziness like this, and now he kind of has the upper hand. And unless Wakanda's imminent application to the United Nations gets a unanimous vote from the Security Council, the entire world's going to learn that Wakanda's peaceful invitation was met with attempts of terrorism, assassination, and theft. And this is where we cut over to our uncle and Shuri, and they're having an argument because our uncle created a system called Project Koi. And this project is essentially a long-range bomb that's used in not necessarily a defensive manner, but it would be used for offensive uses, and that's not who Wakanda is. Wakanda aren't aggressors, they're not conquerors, they're not anything of that nature. They are literally a defensive and passive nation. And so a week later, we arrive at the United Nations, and what our Wakandan king wants more than anything is just trust between nations. So yes, we may have superior technology, yes, we may have things that kind of worry you and stuff of that nature, but we need trust from you, like to build a relationship, to help build a future together, we need to trust one another. And as they leave the UN, this is when they're met by N'Jaka. But here in the real world, he goes by Erik. And he is the lost Wakandan that disappeared forever ago, was taken years ago. And so he takes him and they head back to Wakanda. As they arrive in the throne room, we see Doctor Doom. And Doctor Doom is sitting on the throne and saying that, Doctor Doom desires an audience with the ruler of Wakanda. And almost immediately, T'Challa blows up the throne room. Just makes it explode. And he did it because he didn't detect any signs of human life under the armor. And Erik's really thrown off by this. He was like, I can't believe you did this. He's like, I must have been gone too long in the outside world because what is going on? I can't believe the king destroys his own throne. What is wrong with you? And T'Challa lets him know our history is filled with moments where, others have sought to force change on us. We can rebuild this throne room. It's not that big of a deal. We can't let people like this do this. And so T'Challa and Shuri try to figure out how Doctor Doom was first able to teleport into the room and what his invitation would entail. And so they're trying to essentially dissect the technology because this was one of Doctor Doom's AI robot things. One of his little robotic clones, if you will. Now, somewhere else in the palace, Erik is meeting with White Wolf. And White Wolf pretty much tells him, I can see the true Wakandan within inside of you, and if you would like, come see me and you may be able to join, the elite Hattuzuras, which is the National Secret Security Division for Wakanda. And it goes into a little bit about Erik's backstory, how he was kidnapped by a traitor named Mimdwu. They killed his family and kidnapped him on the day the Great King died. But he always remembered where he came from. And so Black Panther decides he's going to go meet with Doctor Doom to find out, at the very least, what he wants, and to prevent him from ever being able to teleport again, because he had to have some kind of, he was given some kind of technology or he had some kind of information, because he was able to teleport directly into the throne room, and he can't figure out how, so they need to get to Doctor Doom's lair, essentially, and be able to find out how he was able to do this. And so Black Panther and Doctor Doom go have a discussion while Shuri's shown around Doctor Doom's world that he's built up. And Doctor Doom, his whole goal here is to talk about the Fantastic Four, because Black Panther at one point in time had called the Fantastic Four to him to be able to challenge them, because the Avengers are undisciplined in his opinion and not the worthy opponents compared to the Fantastic Four, who have literally intellect, flexibility, a flame, brute strength, stealth, and impenetrability. This team together is such a unique and strong team that if he can defend from them, he can defend from most threats that are going to arise at Wakanda's door. And this extremely intrigues Doctor Doom because he wants to be able to defeat the Fantastic Four. He wants to be able to take over and put his will on the world. And while all this is happening, Shuri essentially puts a virus into Doctor Doom's AIs temporarily, and they don't see her moving around trying to get to Doctor Doom's servers. And she gets to them and trying to check out the information, but then the robot's programming and essentially attacks her. And as she hightails it back to Black Panther, his conversation with Doctor Doom pretty much goes that he's not going to help Doctor Doom. He's not ever going to get vibranium. He's not ever going to be able to get anything to help him conquer the world, because that's not what Wakanda is about, and that's not what he is about. And then we see Black Panther jump out the window, and then him and Shuri are battling an army of Doctor Dooms, and Doctor Doom comes out and says enough. And he finds out that, Doctor Doom's not here to necessarily kill them right now, but that he doesn't need to concern himself with Doctor Doom. He needs to concern himself with disloyalty among his countrymen and kin. And he proposes that the Hyena tribe, or the Hyena clan, are the excommunicated scavengers operating on society's fringes, are the ones that gave them information about how to, or where Wakanda was and how to teleport in there. And that the individual that gave them the information is claiming to be the son of T'Chaka, Black Panther's father, and that he's next in line for the throne. And Black Panther immediately thinks that this is the White Wolf. He thinks the White Wolf is his brother. And him and the White Wolf are going at each other. They're duking it out. Because he thinks Hunter is the one that everybody's talking about. So that would mean he works with Doctor Doom and is putting Wakanda in jeopardy. And then T'Challa's stepmother comes in and says enough, that everybody needs to talk. And so they sit down and have a conversation. And they learn that the half-brother is Chikara. And that sometime after his father and mother had him and the mother had died, he was extremely lonely and grieving and ended up having another child. And they, at first, were going to send the White Wolf to take care of this, but Black Panther says no. Like, this is something that he has to handle. This is his brother. Like, he has to take care of this on his own. Now, while all of this has been taking place, we've been seeing Ninjaka, the guy who had been stranded in the regular world for years and years, going around to different places and talking to elders and leaders and things of that nature. And then we see him drive a spear through Elder Takami. And he's essentially, he killed him to be able to get the information out of his head for the vibranium shock bomb and the pouncers and things of that nature. So he could be able to show the world how powerful Wakanda is so nobody will mess with them. Now, as Black Panther flies in the skies above Kenya, Black Panther tries to reach out to his brother, but it's not met with any communications. And Black Panther worries what he might have to do, but he's interrupted by a lightning strike that hits his ship. And even the vibranium component just couldn't absorb all that energy. And so he initiates a landing sequence and lands, and he sees a person in the lightning striking down on people. And he says it's her. And it's no other than Storm, or as he calls her, Aurora. And we see them two battling the hyenas, and it's just no competition. These two are taking them out, and they retreat into the portal. But before they're able to retreat, Black Panther gets a knife in one of their legs. And so soon after, these two are enjoying a lunch on this cliffside up in the sky. And they're just reminiscing, talking about everything that's transpired, how he's revealed himself to the world, and things of that nature. And how she's doing, protecting her people, and how they've missed each other, and so on and so forth. And so they decided to get back to business, and they join forces because both these hyenas have been stealing food from the locals as well as bothering Wakanda, so they both have an interest in this. And it brings him to the Barrier Volcano Complex in northern Kenya. And Black Panther's brother wanted some vibranium. Like, he needed some vibranium for a specific reason, is essentially unleashing the primal nature of Mother Earth. And he mixes that the vibranium with himself and changes himself on a molecular level and essentially becomes a vibranium monster. And his body essentially metabolized the vibranium from the dagger and converted it to heat energy into mass, and making him this colossal vibranium monster. But Black Panther's able to get the same dagger and use it to destabilize the energy sequence and put him into a essentially comatose state. And Storm puts him into the volcano, not knowing if it will necessarily kill him, or even if it will hold him for a long period of time, but temporarily this is the only solution that they have. And this is where they call it a day and they go their separate ways. Now, picking back up with Erik, we find out that he's been killing all the people that had disappeared or gone missing one by one. And he wants to use their bones for a ritual, and so that all will kneel before him in fear. So swears Erik Killmonger. So this has been our Killmonger the entire time. And so as Black Panther gets back to his uncle in Wakanda, they're discussing Project Coco. That essentially it needs to be dismantled because the project is a bomb, a kinetic energy bomb, that would take in incoming missiles, absorb all the energy, and create a weapon against them using their own weapons. So essentially it's going to gather all the kinetic energy from the explosions of enemy missiles and create one giant missile out of that. And he goes on a tangent about how they're a defensive nation. They're not warmongering. This is something we don't need created. And then they're interrupted, and they find out that Erik had been killing everybody, and so now Black Panther has to go deal with this. So he's literally been having to deal with one thing after another, after another, after another. It's just gone on and on and on and on. And so the Southwest Satellite Lab is where we pick up. And Killmonger is trying to get access to a ship to be able to take this bomb into the real world and be able to show the fierce might of Wakanda. And this is when Black Panther shows up and they start dueling it out. And this ritual that Killmonger did essentially made Black Panther weakened enough for him to be able to get away and take off in this ship. But Black Panther's able to break out of this little ritual spell that's been put on him, and he breaks out and goes after him. But not before the self-destruct sequence goes off and explodes the entire satellite lab. And this is where Killmonger releases pouncers all across Wakanda, causing devastation so Black Panther can't really go in pursuit. And as one of these pouncers is taking on the Secret Service headquarters, Black Panther comes in and Shuri as well, and they all start fighting this giant mechanical cat. And Shuri plunges a vibranium dagger into him, and it shuts the systems down. And then Black Panther gets a great idea. Not really a great idea, a really bad idea, but he thinks it can work. He has White Wolf shoot him from a harpoon gun to try to catch up with Killmonger. And so we see Black Panther shot up into the air, and he lands onto the ship. And him and Killmonger start going at it. And Black Panther's really just, he's so shocked at Killmonger and why he would do all this. Like, all this killing, all this madness, all this death, just tell me why. And he's just so bitter. For years he was stranded in a world that he's dragging Wakanda into, and he doesn't want that. They're not worthy of the greatness of Wakanda. And this is where we see Killmonger drop the bomb, and Black Panther go chasing after it. As Black Panther chases after that, Shuri catches up to Killmonger and takes him on, wraps him up in vibranium restraints, and he also plummets to the ground. And this is where we see Black Panther tear this bomb apart and essentially deactivate it. Killmonger falling into the river, but he disappeared. He's gone. No, he's left without a sight. Now Black Panther, understanding the severity of how much people are coming after this vibranium, because it's literally been a matter of weeks at this point, and it's just been one thing after another after another after another. And so he calls somebody that he thinks might be able to help them out. And this is where he calls in Captain America. And this is the beginning. This is the beginning of the relationship between the Avengers and Wakanda, between Wakanda and the world. You know, he doesn't feel that they're necessarily ready to know everything that they could do just yet, but perhaps Wakanda and the world can learn from one another. This is the beginning of the new tomorrow. And that will be the end of this story. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You know, this is definitely different from the movie in a lot of ways, but I think that Mr. Boseman really did bring to life what it is to be the Black Panther, to what it is to have Wakanda. You know, everything to do with the film, from the directors to the producers, you know, they did a phenomenal job, but Chadwick Boseman really brought a whole nother level of acting to it, and I'm so glad that he was able to grace us with his talent before he left this world. And so with that being said, thank you guys for checking out my video, and until the next video.